Lewis and Clark, despite their advertised national gains, the both long and short-term negative effects of the Corps of Discovery on the Native American population of the United States. Officially declaring their freedom on July 4, 1776, following a Revolutionary War, the United States was originally comprised of 13 states: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, Virginia, New York, North Carolina, and Rhode Island. During the Revolutionary War, the colonies banded together as patriots to take their freedom against King George. Finally, following the last battle in Yorktown on September 28, 1781, General Lord Charles Cornwallis surrendered to the Patriots. Following that up, on the 3rd of September, 1783, King George signed the Treaty of Paris, effectively giving Americans their freedom from England. Although America was a young country, their first thoughts were to expand. At the time, the French controlled most of the land from Louisiana to the Great Lakes, and the Northwest today is Montana. On July 4, 1803, President Thomas Jefferson decided to buy that territory, which was over 827,000 square miles west of the Mississippi River, for $15 million from the French leader at the time, Napoleon Bonaparte. Upon purchase of such a vast expanse of land, it came clear very quickly that it would be necessary to explore and discover the new territory. So Jefferson started to assemble a team, the Corps of Discovery. He first needed a team to explore, but to start that team, he needed a leader, so he turned to his presidential secretary, Meriwether Lewis. Then, following his first selection, he chose the second man qualified for the job in the military, William Clark. The Corps was originally comprised of 38 members, with most of them being military men. There were 24 privates, 4 sergeants, and of course the 2 captains, Lewis and Clark. There was also 8 non-military men, including Sacagawea, who was an Indian interpreter that they acquired when one of their non-military members, Toussaint Charbonneau, bought her as a slave and took her along with him on the expedition. Sacagawea helped them a lot in their encounters with the Indian tribes. While she didn't speak very good English, she knew some of the languages the Indians spoke, such as the Shoshone and the Hidatsa. She also was a valued member of the Corps because she recognized some of the geological formations they came across over the duration of the expedition. At last, the Corps was officially assembled. On May 14, 1804, Lewis and Clark departed from St. Louis, Missouri. They set sail on a 55-foot keel boat, along with 2 smaller boats called the pirogues up the Mississippi. The expedition took them through 7 states on the Mississippi riverbed, including Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, Montana, Oregon. Throughout the expedition, the Corps had many obstacles to overcome. At the start, one of the biggest ones was the Rocky Mountains. They first encountered the Rockies in Montana, and they continued through Idaho. It took them just under 60 long, cold days to make it through the Rockies, but when they finally did achieve that mark, they were so close to the Pacific Ocean. The Rockies weren't the only obstacles they had to overcome. They also had tough weather problems and health issues. At one point, a bad windstorm took out one of their pirogues before they even made it to the Rockies. It took them until they passed through the mountains to build more boats. Although they faced many terrible health issues such as frostbite, hypothermia, dysentery, they brought every man home safe and sound, except for one man, Sergeant Charles Floyd, who had died from a ruptured appendix. They also had many important encounters with Native American tribes. They met up with nearly 50 tribes. Their intentions were to befriend these natives, start trades with them, and find out as much as they can about the land their country purchased. Sacagawea helped them a lot to communicate with the natives and develop relationships with them. Most of the tribes helped them a lot by giving food and told them about the upcoming geography that they will have to tackle. One tribe, called the Nez Perce, gave them buffalo when they were running out of food and starving. They also gave them horses, which helped Lewis and Clark out greatly. They were very thankful. They also had problems with a lot of tribes too. Some tribes, such as the Teton Sioux Indians, found them as competitors in trade, and they had a large armed fight over the cause. Other tribes, such as the Chinooks, stole from the Corps, which gave them a clear disadvantage on their expedition. In the end, the expedition was a success, and they achieved their goals. They discovered 134 animal species, including the grizzly bear, the coyote, and the bald eagle. They also recorded 174 new plants, such as wild rice and raccoon grape, along with meeting almost 50 tribes. Clearly, most people found the expedition to be great and a great success. but others could find it to be bad. Although they had discovered many new species and plants, they also took a big toll on the natives living in the area. They spread diseases such as smallpox to the natives, killing some of them. Smallpox from the corpse completely wiped out the Mandan tribe. The purchase of the land also took away a bunch of Native American homes. After the corpse came in and settled in the new areas, we took a considerable amount of natives from their homes and placed them on reserves. The conditions on these reserves were extremely terrible for these natives. On one reserve, Fort Berthold, natives were forced to change their religions to Christianity. They also weren't allowed to hunt anymore and had to start farming for food, and they were first to put their children in boarding schools in order to educate them. This wasn't the only reservation that gave the natives a difficult time. There were plenty of reservations built up all up the Mississippi, such as Fort McKean and Fort Yates. For these Native Americans, their culture will never be the same. Even today, natives are still stuck on reserves, but mostly in Canada. Although the conditions are getting better now on the reserves, the natives feel excluded from the rest of the world. As seen in the following video clip, natives struggle to succeed in the many facets of their life upon being moved to reservations by the government. This video is showing how the natives feel about their life on the reserves. We needed to fix them and make them feel better about their lives and help the children see their full potential. Clearly, how the natives feel today is a long-term effect of the Corps of Discovery and the Louisiana Purchase, discovering the natives. Obviously, the Corps of Discovery was a huge success and a big step in American exploration, but it clearly had some big negative effects on the natives and their population.
And that's what I tell my husband, and he just tells me, hang in, we're gonna make it. And I hope to see that one day.
Many have no idea what life is like on a native reserve. It is easy enough for us to say that natives are worthless to our society, but they fight a daily struggle and they want their tale to be told.
Canadians don't actually know. They don't understand because they don't know.
The First Nations people of Canada are often stereotyped as being drunk, lazy, and uneducated.
Really sad, and it's embarrassing.
Reserves are considered to be equivalent to third world nations. The crime rate is extremely high and violence among youth is rampant. But this should not be a reflection on those who live on a reserve. If anything, government officials need to take the blame.
In one sense, what the government is saying is that, well, whatever happened in the past, that is, the historical antecedents, don't count. And I want to say, no, sorry, that is not.
Reserves are filled with intelligent and talented people, but the native population have virtually been removed from society, forced to create their own communities.
Have well-educated, smart and talented people on the reserve who do good things.
Many young people are left to bear the emotional scars of a generation lost. Residential schools, implemented by the government in the 1940s and 50s, have greatly impacted today's youth. Their parents' historical suffering has forced them to go out of control.
They're going to make you or it's going to break you, and without role models and people to encourage you to join these kinds of clubs and sports, it is very easy to be falling into the cracks.
Teenagers resort to violence as a means to entertain themselves. Without social guidance, it is difficult for these kids to ever realize their full potential.
There's nothing really to do on the reserves.
Preliminary steps have been taken to implement youth leadership programs, but the government and elected reserve officials just don't come through financially.
Having heard excuses of no funding or restructuring and all that excuses I was given for closing our youth center, it's unacceptable.
But despite their problems, there is a longing for their homeland, a place where they feel belonged and aren't judged for who they are or what people think they are.
I feel like we're in a cage, hey? Then when we go to the reserve, we're let out of our cage. It's just free.